everyone, welcome to the Unintended Receiver podcast by 91 Ultimate. My name is Meher, and today we're going to be doing a session on strengthening and fitness in Ultimate. Your hosts for today are me, Meher, and Richa Patel. And
Hi everyone. Sorry.
hi, Richa. And we're going to be speaking to the legendary fitness guru, Arun Pandian, also known as AP, who for the past 8 years since 2013 has been professionally a fitness coach, currently freelancing as a coach. He has been the captain and coach for WCBU 2015 Open. He has also coached the first women's team that went to Singapore Ultimate Open in 2015 called Chick Flicks. He coached AOBUC 2019. He's also traveled extensively in Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Manila Spirits, Dubai, UK, Philippines, Malaysia, played Ultimate. And hi, Arun, AP.
Hey, thank you for having me. That was a very long introduction. I'm not used to those, but I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, and also AP, I'm sure you've carried around your shirtless, topless persona and swooned many women around the world. We should
Of course.
mention that too. But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks AP for joining us, and it's quite exciting actually to have you talk specifically fitness. We as a community talk very little regarding fitness in Ultimate. We all just say like busy recruiting people and getting people to start playing and forget about fitness a lot of times. So this dedicated discussion, I think, hopefully will get people to think more practically and to um, think how they can productively put in effort towards training for Ultimate. Um, and let's dive straight into the first question and also a little background for everybody. So we're talking to AP on the back of the fitness plan that he had put together at the time of return to play guidelines for Ultimate were being planned. It's a very detailed and extensive plan. Please do have a look at it. It's on the India Ultimate website. It's a proper document with everything. There's a lot of detail put in and what all people can do with exercises, etc. Thank you, AP, for doing that. It's a great job. Um, and from the plan, I think this one statement that really stuck out for me was that strength training and running are the bread and butter, but with an added focus on mobility and stability exercises. And I think this sentence talks about the whole holistic aspect, and how one should think more holistically when training for Ultimate. And AP, just if you can share your thoughts on what are some key considerations one should keep in mind while kind of devising their weekly or monthly fitness regime, especially in terms of prepping for return to Ultimate.
Got it. So I think, like, as I was kind of saying in that document, I think the biggest thing that the quarantine has done is that it basically made us sit down and not play sports. And I think the effect of not having had that exposure for about a year requires a little bit of thought while coming before coming back to playing that sport. And that's essentially what I wanted to address in that document. So what you mentioned towards the end about mobility and like stability work, just the fact that most of us have been pretty sedentary, so like we've been sitting a lot, we've been not really moving as much, does impact our ability to kind of like stretch all the way or like be able to do the things we were doing with the same level of ease. And I think with that in mind, making sure that like you're perfectly warmed up before a session, or making sure that you after you play your quads or whatever your muscles don't feel too tight or too stiff. Those things I think need to be considered before we go back to playing, because we've had a year of not having thought about that. So from that standpoint, I think making sure that we're all adequately mobile, like our hips, our shoulders, everything is working the way that it should, and that we're able to move around freely without feeling any sort of stiffness or without having any issues. That's really important. And I think like warming up and cooling down is also just as important. So I think it's really not that complicated of saying, okay, how do we get back to playing sports? because it's something that we've been doing for so long and our bodies kind of remember that. So just being able to help ourselves get to that back to playing state with just a little bit of like mobility stuff, a little bit of stability work, making sure your core is on, making sure that you're I think prepared. So doing a little bit of like stuff every day as opposed to like working out for like 2 hours every a few times a week. I think doing like 30 minutes of like a little bit of work every day also would be a really good, easy way to get yourself back to playing Ultimate.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I actually sometimes what I do is when I wake up, I get up and I do a little dance because I want to shake my body and like feel mobile. So I feel you when you say that
exactly.
we need to be mobile when we get out back. Yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, and you also, I mean, we were discussing that. Are there any specific? Do you think that there are more equipments or less equipments required for this kind of training?
I think with regards to equipment, like a lot of us have come from having worked out in gyms or used to our own equipment, so things that we do. If you are one of those people, it makes sense to have like what you would normally around, but you really don't need equipment to be able to get back to playing. Essentially your warm up, where you would be doing things like stretching or like squats or lunges, or basically stuff to get your body ready. That itself, like if you could just increase the number of sets and reps of that, could be a good workout for you to kind of get back to playing. So you don't really need much in the way of equipment. In fact, I don't think you really need anything equipment-wise if you really wanted to get back to playing. And I think that's something that you should probably consider. Just warming up, but with a little few extra sets, and that could be your workout. Do that a couple of times a week, and I think in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you should feel like a different person. So
yeah, but I would definitely like a hot person to look at as an equipment to make me motivated to practice or get out there. But yeah, we'll leave it for another thing. But yeah.
So,
Meher,
I was just thinking, it's interesting you speak about, getting back to fitness after this sort of sedentary period we've had. And, last week, GK Mad released this insane video of all the players skipping and doing insane tricks with their, great footwork and backflips, and really something. And Project Hill also ran a few sessions with their players where they trained without using a disc for Ultimate. They used cricket gear to improve reflexes and catching accuracy. They used football drills to improve footwork. So, what do you think could be some of the beneficial cross training workouts that sports people could consider?
I think I'm somebody who's played a lot of sports before playing Ultimate, and I think I'm going to use this opportunity to talk a little bit about that. I played football in school and martial arts for school and college, and I also did dance for a while. I think that what's up? So could you hear me?
No, I could hear you. I wanted to know, how did you do a martial arts, and more importantly, I cannot picture an image of AP dancing.
As much as this question is leaning towards talking about that, I think I'm going to talk about why it was good.
Yeah, sure.
I think, for me, one of the things that I think I enjoyed from having those experiences was the fact that I think Frisbee, our Ultimate, that because we spend a lot of time throwing or doing something with our hands, but also like moving around with our legs, like you do require a lot of core strength, and being able to kind of do things like martial arts and dance really kind of drives that home. And so I just found things like throwing would come naturally a lot easier because of that experience. And I think football, because of just the fact that you're on a pretty large field, it forces you to have to run a lot. It forces you to have to kind of think about where other people are at the same time. So spatial awareness, those kinds of things, I found football really helped me. So I think those sports are definitely good for anyone who wants to really say, how can I get the most out of it? But I actually make a case for, I think, pretty much any sport. Simply because I think sport itself is something that keeps you physically active, as opposed to you spending that time kind of sitting at home and not really doing much. Or I think it's definitely a good physical activity to keep your body feeling young. But to that end, I think if you say you're doing yoga or something different, then you should definitely continue doing that. But yeah, my choices, I think, come from the fact that I did a few things. Yeah.
we recently spoke to
Sorry, ma'am.
Asha about yoga, and she was taking us through uh, how that works as a cross sport kind
Yeah,
of how that helps her improve her ultimate and slacklining I've seen of late.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Slacklining is fun. Like that
yeah.
is that's so much harder than it looks. Like I did not expect to be as tired as I was. That is a real like killer workout.
Amazing.
Yeah, slacklining actually also adds the added layer of mental pressure to the workout.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And AP, so I mean, if Ultimate had like these 10 commandments, I think one of it would be snap that wrist, and we hear that a lot. That if we want to get our throws, improve our accuracy, improve how long we're able to throw, or just control the movement of the disc, we need to be able to snap that wrist well. So, which also means that it's a very core important joint function that it plays.
Yeah.
What mobility or strengthening exercises can one include in terms of focusing on this joint, so
Got
to
it.
speak?
Got it. I I think that's important to think about. Simply because I think we think a lot about our legs. We think about like what is really moving for the most part, but the fact that our wrist kind of dictates so much of how we play is important to think about. So I think instead of giving you guys like talking about exercises or things to do, there's two ways to think about what your wrists do, and I think the two ways to split them are is one where you're kind of weight bearing, so you're putting weight on your wrist. So think of it like holding a plank, where your wrist is taking that load. And
Mm-hmm.
another way to think about it, another type of movement for your wrist is anything where you're hanging or pulling, which is the opposite of putting weight on it. So it's kind of distracting or pulling away from the joint.
Mm-hmm.
So those two kinds of movements, basically hanging and weight bearing, if
Mm-hmm.
you can weight bear your own body weight for say 60 seconds on a plank, I think that's a pretty strong wrist. At the same time, if you can hang, say, or like on a
Mm-hmm.
pull-up bar or anything for a certain amount of time, that's also a good test for a wrist. For the most part, I think like if you're doing like other physical activity and using your body, your wrists are going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you really want to see if like really bulletproof your wrist, doing exercises that have you putting weight on your wrist, doing exercises that have you kind of hanging will definitely,
Mm-hmm.
I think, strengthen your wrist and like everything else surrounding it that works along with it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And how often should, I mean, one target the wrist in a week, say, for example?
I honestly wouldn't advocate doing anything for it specifically unless you have like an issue that you're trying to
Okay,
rehab out of. So like
okay.
for me, I think like exercises that I do in my workouts that already use the wrist, I think like I'd say deadlifts or pull-ups or
Mm-hmm.
push-ups. All of those
Okay.
exercises do use your wrist in some capacity. And
Mm-hmm.
and I think because of that, doing them on a regular basis is itself enough bulletproofing for your wrist. So yeah, you
Okay.
don't. I don't think you really need to add anything specifically for it if you're doing a lot of other things. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And at what point would you suggest either going to a physio or taking an external help if somebody is facing problem or not?
I'd say if you have any discomfort or pain at the joint, if you're bending it past 90 degrees in any way,
Mm-hmm.
or if you have any sort of uh, pain when during the flicking or that snapping motion, essentially, you should be able to do that unhindered without any flicks or any pain. So yeah, those two things I think are like yeah, bending it past 90 degrees is also something that you should be able to do without not really like feeling anything weird.
Okay, got it. Got it. And so I actually started playing this sport because I had asthma, and I used to run because I realized that I needed to work on improving my breathing and just also how much of oxygen I'm able to kind of take in and process within my body. So obviously I had gone to a doctor and I was doing medications and everything, but I noticed that it really affects my playing. Like for example, I have been recently facing breathing problems because of pollution and etc. And we had the hat this weekend, and it really affected my playing
Mhm.
ability. So what kind of conscious work can one put into improving oxygenation or just focusing on breath work?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Firstly, I think before I talk about it, It's just the fact that you had asthma and you went to a doctor, I think is definitely the right thing to do. I think having a physician take a call on like what is okay, what is not okay is definitely the first step if you are diagnosed with something. But I think beyond that, I think this concept of getting out of breath has a little bit to do with breathing and has a lot to do with a lot of other stuff that I wanted to get to. So like, I think the first thing that you could do if you're somebody who kind of feels like a little gassed very easily is to think about interval training. And like, I think we call this conditioning, we call this doing sprints, we call this a bunch of other things in India Ultimate. But I think just the concept of what an interval training like program is where you have a certain duration that you're going to work for, a certain duration that you're going to rest for, and kind of play with that. So you could be doing sprints and you could say, hey, I'm going to like run at a certain speed or like as fast as I can for say 10 seconds. And then I'm going to do nothing for say 40 seconds. And then I'm going to go again. And so like even that, just that interval of like going between work and rest and work and rest and being able to do that with not just a sprint, but it could be any other exercise. It could be like things like squats or burpees or anything else that you kind of want to put in its place. So I think just kind of having that approach and like, for example, one of the things that we did with Team India was we were doing conditioning work based on the game time, based on playing time for roughly a handler or a cutter in each point that they would have. So say, for example, as like if you're playing a certain point, what is the average duration of the point? How long are the durations that people are sprinting for? And then have that programmed in as part of your workout. So in a game you're going to be sprinting for say about flat out for about 20 to 30 seconds. And then we could, what is a full time that we could rest for that? So you're sprinting for 20 seconds, you're resting for say 60 seconds, and then you're going again. And then so what are the durations that you're using in Ultimate? And kind of just working off of that as like a baseline, saying, okay, this is what I know I'm going to do on the field. So let's do the same thing off field where I'm working for that duration and then resting for another duration. So that could be something to think about, just interval training and how you want to sort of add that in. I think beyond that, one thing that I think I'm a big advocate for is I think especially for all Indian Ultimate folks, because I think not many of us come from an athletic background. That is, not many of us have played like sports professionally or had a lot of that experience before we kind of came to Ultimate. Is I think just becoming a stronger or a more powerful athlete. And like the reason I say this is that I think for somebody like I think just using myself as an example, when I first started playing, I wasn't particularly strong or I wasn't particularly powerful. And so just to be able to run or make an output or run in a certain direction, I'd expend a lot of energy and like I'd get really burnt out. But I think after having put on a little bit of strength, put on a little bit of muscle, and I think becoming stronger and my legs can kind of move a lot more weight, or I'm able to like do a lot more because my body's gotten bigger and stronger. Like all of those cuts or all of the same distances, my outcut is still going to be like only X amount of distance because the field is only so long. But because my body is stronger and like bigger and like I can put a lot more force, all of those things became easier, so to speak. So I think if you're a frisbee player and you've been playing for a while, you should probably think about how to make your quote unquote engine bigger. At least that's the way I like to think about it. And I think that's something like in my observations of seeing Indian Ultimate players match up against players from different countries has been something that I think people from outside have been working a lot more on for a lot longer. So I think that's something that we could also probably think about is how to build a better, like more efficient sports car.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing the fact that, you are also could not do this at one point in time, because that gives me hope that even I can get to the level you are and that anybody I can do that if they put in the effort.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, just knowing like, I was definitely where you were. And I think like just the fact that like I was able to do it. Yeah. I think anyone can definitely do it.
Yeah, that sounds good. Awesome. And I mean, I play Now Masters team, and it's interesting that you say that because when we were training for the Masters campaign, and there were a couple of things that Arvind from the quad, he had kind of put together certain mobility, and we had a very stringent like mobility routine that we were doing. And one thing that stood out as something he had mentioned, which was intriguing, was that during the 2019 beach national team campaigns, that there was either some players had to be reminded or explained that, the importance of warm up and cool down. And not just in the national team, but also I've noticed that there is a sense of pride or joy that people kind of seek from knowing that they don't need to warm up or cool down. And yeah, just want to know what you'd say to these people.
Got it. I kind of want to there were two parts to that, I think, question / statement. Firstly, I was on the 2019 beach national team as a coach, and all of the warm-ups and cool-downs were all my responsibility. So I'm going to vouch for all of the people on that team and say everyone warmed up properly. But I think I get what you're saying about in general, warming up and cooling down. I think a lot of folks at one point in time did not want to do that. And I can speak to that. I think my experience with my own body and having played for 10 years now has been that I wanted to kind of not stop playing. I wanted to not have a limited timeline on, okay, by this time I'm going to be done because my body is not going to be able to be there for me. So I think with that perspective in mind for myself, I wanted to be able to not put a time cap on when I had to stop playing Ultimate. And I think just the simplest thing that you could be doing to keep that sort of door open is to warm up and cool down after every session. And I think that just thinking about that from that perspective for a lot of people with time, I think has been really, really important. I've seen folks that used to never warm up, I think now going and running warm-ups for their team. And these are people who used to be on the beach team that didn't warm up at one point. So I think just thinking about your own career, thinking about the fact that you want to be playing Ultimate for a while, you don't want to stop playing. And the fact that not warming up and not cooling down in the long run, scientifically or even otherwise, everybody knows it's not going to help you do that. So I think being smart about that will just help you. Will save you a lot of stress down the road.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Nice. Thanks, Richa, AP. You all have, I think, quite comprehensively touched upon some really important aspects of what players need to be thinking about and looking at for fitness and strengthening. And something we do talk about physical fitness quite often in relation to Ultimate, but we I think often forget to talk about its support structure to the healthy body, good nutrition. So I'm wondering, AP, what would be your advice on food and nutrition to Ultimate players?
I definitely agree with what you said, and the fact that I think nutrition is something that we don't talk about. And it's really important for us to talk about as a community. I think my understanding of nutrition and food is very limited, given that I think I've learned from nutritionists and I think I've read a few books, but that's about it. I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to know what is good and what is bad. But having said that, I think there are a few things that I've seen as a fitness coach professionally that I think a lot of people could be doing better. And specifically with the Ultimate community, I think the Indian diet is something that in some ways isn't conducive to playing sports, especially with protein not being as available. And so just that. So there's a few things that I think are important for us to think about as frisbee players, or at least I've seen for me were big game changers. And firstly, that one was kind of cutting down on junk food and essentially things like fried food or things that are not really going to help you or fuel your body the way that you need it to be fueled. So I think just reducing junk food, one, makes it easier to add in things that you want to be adding in that will help you with recovery or help you with getting stronger, or those things I think will you'll have a lot more room to do that if you were to say kind of skip the junk or the packet of chips or the things that you normally kind of reach for. That was one thing that was really important for me. I think the second thing I think that was really useful was I think then kind of figuring out my goals. I was somebody I was a little bit on the heavier side for a while, and so I kind of had to reduce a little bit of weight. So one of the things that was really useful for me was to start eating a lot of green leafy vegetables.
Yeah.
And I think just the fact that they're low in calories but have a lot of nutrients, or just to the weight that they have a certain amount of protein. And I think those things were really taken care of just by making sure I ate a lot of vegetables, green leafy vegetables, things like spinach, And I think making sure, lastly, that I had some amount of protein, or not lastly, but like I had some amount of protein coming in every day. I think be it through eggs or be it through like if you're veg, I think having things like paneer or whey protein if you can, some form of protein in pretty much almost every meal, definitely helped with my recovery. I felt myself kind of like being a lot more like alert or being able to be a lot more energetic and not really feeling as kind of exhausted as much. That was a big thing for me. And also carbs. I think this is something I think world over is like carbs do get a bad rap for I think adding a lot of calories. But given that we play a field sport where we're pretty much running on a football-sized field, that you do need the energy, especially before and after. You need to be able to fuel your body enough so that you have enough like juice in the tank to be able to last the duration that you're playing for. So I think making sure that you kind of eat carbs, but not in like excess. So like, and no point, I think one of the good things that I was taught by one of my mentors was at any point if you feel like you're kind of being greedy or eating in excess, you should probably stop. And so that was a really useful thing for me. But just to kind of bring it back, I think just eating less junk food, green leafy vegetables, protein pretty much every day, and also getting enough water. I think this is something that like we sweat a lot more as a sport because we're out in the sun and we're doing a lot of running. And I think like the fact that we probably need a little bit more water than the average sedentary human being is I think really important. So at least, I don't know, 2 liters or more for most of us, I think is a good amount for us to like focus on having every day.
I hear very contrasting things about water. Some people say drink as much water as you need to, in the sense your body will ask for it. Other people say you must put water reminders that tell you to drink every hour. So
yeah. So just to like clarify that, I think like everyone's needs are based on their levels of physical activity and their body. And so I think for a lot of us, like listening to advice from people who don't really have the same lifestyle or the same activities in their day as we do is a bit problematic, especially when it comes to things like nutrition. Like I was somebody who was told for a very long time that I should never skip breakfast or like I need to like eat all these things. And these were well-meaning people, but just because they just didn't have like frisbee or a sport to play, that they didn't have that kind of stress. And so like that's something for like us to have to also kind of think about, is like what is important for you given the things that you do as ultimate players.
yeah, okay, nice, okay, great, super helpful. Now we'll just kind of I have a fun question for you. So we, as part of while we're doing warm-ups and cool downs and while we're playing, we have a designated speaker that plays music and blasts and pumps us up. And we also have a music champions in our team who kind of like ensure that everyone is listening to pumpy music all the time. So tell us what you listen to and what pumps you up.
Yeah, I love this question. I think I wish I was a little bit more active on my team jukebox, but I think my songs are from back like 2010, 2011. So I like the Foo Fighters. Yeah. So
Back
pretty
in
much
the
any
day.
Foo Fighters back in the day. And yeah, Pretender was one that I used to listen to a lot.
Okay.
And then there's this other song called Let Them Come by Scroobius Pip. And then I also like a few like I also like a few soundtracks from movies. So there was this one movie called Smoking Aces, and the song at the end of the movie was called Dead Reckoning by Clint Mansell. That was a song that was on repeat for a while. Hungry by Rob Bailey, and yeah, that's always a good pump up song. And Blood in the Water by Grandson. I think just pretty much rock. I think at some point just works. So
Yeah, I don't think a lot of the new age millennials will associate with
it. Generation gap.
Yeah. Because my brother was telling me recently about people listening to, I forget what genre he was talking about. He's like, basically everybody's listening to this music where somebody's just talking about their rich lifestyle, and that's what the song is about. I was like, okay, I don't know what this genre is, but I'm not listening to it. But yeah. Thank you, AP. You've been so wonderful, and just as expected, you've given us a true kind of well-rounded perspective on fitness, and we're very thankful for that. And I hope that people listening in get some important tips and also try to think more strategically about their training with regard to ultimate. And I hope that you also get asked out for a dance, because I really want to see you dance like crazy. And I also hope that people come up to you and ask you to have like a punch off or like face off of some martial arts. But yeah, let's hope you have you get more dates asking for dance and for some martial arts.
Thank you, Richa. No, but thank you for like having me. I absolutely been following along to all the podcasts. I think like you guys are doing something really amazing. For the first time, I think like we have a voice of what it sounds to be like from Indian Ultimate, and I think you guys are doing a great job of that. And so yeah, thanks for having me. I absolutely enjoyed being here, and yeah, looking forward to listening to this episode, next one, and yeah, the ones that come after.
Thank you, AP. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you soon. And let us know how the dance date with AP goes.
Right.
You can write to, what is our email address? You can write to
for
anyone who wants to dance with AP can drop us an email along with feedback
Oh,
on the
God.
podcast.
Yes, our email address is contact@91ultimate.com.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.